Hey, everybody, welcome to today's episode of the What Worked For You show. Now, today, my guest is someone who is a bit of a serial entrepreneur, but specifically in the real estate space. What does that mean? Because usually, serial entrepreneurs, you hear all sorts of companies. Well, she has all sorts of companies. She's got a brokerage, she's got a title company, she's got a property management company, she's got a school helping in the education space of real estate. She works with short-term rentals, and she's been at this for over 2 decades now. So she's been able to become this entrepreneur within this niche and create a ton of success for herself. And so I'm glad to have her today so we can talk about that journey. And if you're in the real estate space, how maybe you may want to replicate it. So Betsy Pepine, how are you doing today? Thank you for being here.
I am doing great, Frank. It's a nice and sunny day in Florida.
Nice and sunny. Is it ever not a sunny day except for the occasional storm that comes through?
Right. Yeah, we're just starting hurricane season, so fingers crossed.
That's true. Well, hopefully it'll be quieter than the last one. That one was a
Yeah.
little spicy. So
Yeah.
I want to start with a question you share on your website that I think many entrepreneurs ask at multiple levels. And you said, is this it? And whether it's the success or the grind or the failures, usually a combination of all three, entrepreneurs and even employees of companies ask that question at some point in their career.
Hmm.
Is this it? I've even asked the question. How
Hmm.
do we get to that point where we're asking that question?
Well, I don't know how we do. I know how I got to that point, and I got to it after feeling like I had checked off all the boxes on what it meant to be successful in the society in which we live and not feeling happy. And then feeling frustrated with myself for not being happy, feeling like I should be happy because I've outwardly had a lot of success. And so that's when I started to ask myself, is this it? Where did I stray? Why am I not feeling the happiness that I assumed success would bring?
So you're saying that and again, this is something that comes up often, so I'm glad you shared this. You can check all the boxes, and we understand the material things. That's the most common, right? The house, the car, the whatever, right? The boat. And we have this assumption these are the things that'll make us happy,
Hmm.
but they don't.
Hmm.
And I've even met super successful people that want to simplify their life. They're like away with this stuff,
Yeah.
right? They don't
Hmm.
even want it anymore. How can we as entrepreneurs build this, for lack of a better term, happiness checkbox into our daily work?
Sorry, I just made myself a note on something you just said, but yeah, for me, it's it's been a journey and I'm still on it, but being very mindful and intentional about what I truly want. Because I assume that getting these external, honestly, like validation measures would lead to happiness. And it's not found externally, as what I've learned, which I'm sure other people already know. But so for me, I have to look inward and make sure that I'm doing things that are in alignment with my core values, my unique ability, and who I was designed and meant to be. And that's when I feel most at peace and happy with where I'm at. Not so much with the external measures of success that, we are encumbered by.
Sure, sure. So some people will say that in your journey to be successful, whatever that is for you, um, you'll have to do things that you don't enjoy doing. But then there's people in another camp that say, put all your energy into what you enjoy you're doing because
Mhm.
that's where you'll be the most fulfilled.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on it? Is it A? Is it B? Is it a little bit of both and you're balancing that? What are your
Yeah.
thoughts?
Um, I mean, I do think it's naive to say we never have to do things we don't want to do, but I do feel that, and I'm moving towards this concept of unique ability is a concept that um, I'm in this program called Strategic Coach, and they're big on unique ability, and everybody has a unique ability, and that's when you're in a state of flow. And if we can spend 80% of our time in the unique ability and 20% of our time elsewhere, that's kind of more realistic. Um, so that 20% could be with things you don't necessarily like to do, but I definitely believe in the idea of don't try to um, get better at things you're not good at. Just focus on what you're good at and hire out, collaborate with those who are naturally good at the things you're not. And I think that makes for a much better outcome on so many levels than trying to work on getting better at things that you are either inherently or just not good at.
Got it. Got it. No, I love it. So I was literally just on a call not long before this show, and the subject of enthusiasm came up.
Hmm.
And and the discussion was related around this idea of some people are just naturally woo, right? Like they're just lively people. But then some people that are, and it tends to be people that are more introverted, don't tend to naturally be, they're not going to be on the cheerleading squad tomorrow, probably ever.
Hmm.
But when they want to communicate with the world, like we all know that people respond to enthusiastic people.
Hmm.
As entrepreneurs, it's easy to be enthusiastic when we're doing the work that fulfills us. But in order to have a successful business, we do have to project some level of enthusiasm to gain clients and business and right and that sort of thing. We're not like the dentist who you have to go see him when your tooth hurts, whether you like it or not. That doesn't tend to be what a lot of us do.
Yeah.
What do you what do you tell people when it comes to this idea of not just being happy, but projecting an enthusiasm in
Hmm.
what you do so that it radiates in a way, but not manufactured, but in a way that's natural to who you are.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, that's interesting. I hadn't looked at it like that. There is the idea, and I don't remember what personality profiling system it's in, but one of the things is the galvanizer. And you need that personality trait in your organization to be successful because you need to galvanize people to get behind your idea, right? But that may not be your natural skill set. And it doesn't mean that you're not a great entrepreneur. It just means you got to hire a galvanizer to help you with that area of weakness of yours. So I don't know that we have to be, I mean, I would never advocate that somebody be or pretend to be someone they're not. And some personality types, they may be intrinsically very excited, but the energy doesn't come across that way. And it's not something that's attracting other people. So they have to recognize that the best people are people who recognize their weaknesses and and hire to them. So I would just encourage people to be realistic about what they truly like doing, what their personality profiles are naturally like, and don't fight against that. Work with it and supplement it with people who are good at those things, whether it's the galvanizing personality, like attracts like. So you get these galvanizing people that's going to attract people to you and your ideas. And you may need that. You may have great ideas, but you don't have that kind of personality.
Got it. And I love that. Well, so I want to talk about, you've built Pepine Realty, fastest growing brokerage or on the Inc. 5000 list. You've gotten tremendous endorsements. I saw here Barbara Cochran, Dave Ramsey, Glenn Beck, names that are well known. But you didn't start there.
Hmm.
So when going back to, and we'll talk more about it later, but just a real quick highlight, when you're first starting in business, you haven't been endorsed by anybody, you're not, you're just getting started. When Is that a good time to go get this galvanizer if that's not natural to you?
Mhm. I don't know. To me, that would not have been helpful at that point because I was just learning the business. And it took me a good 4 years. In the state of Florida, you can become a broker at 2 years. And I remember at 2 years, I did not feel at all qualified to be a broker and be able to defend myself legally if I ever got into hot water. And so getting a galvanizer, I don't know that that would have helped me. Getting a real estate coach would have helped me. I did not get a real estate coach at that point. It took me about 6 years to get a real estate coach. I think getting a real estate coach would absolutely help you at the beginning, or some kind of coach for whatever business you're in. But no, I mean, for me, the galvanizer would have come at a point when I was trying to grow the brokerage. And even that wasn't the first year of my brokerage. It was only probably in year 3 of my brokerage did I decide that I really wanted to grow it. And that's when the galvanizer personality would be very helpful.
So, what is the official job title of the galvanizer? Because I'm guessing the
Well,
ad doesn't say galvanizer.
no, it doesn't, but it could be, and it depends because, like for my situation, the ideal position for the galvanizer personality is the sales manager because you want them galvanizing your agents to go out and do great work. So in my industry, that would be the ideal personality type. But if your sales manager doesn't have the galvanizing personality, you could still, as long as you have it within the company, you can leverage it for when you need it internally. So again, you could hire a great sales manager who's not a galvanizer and you can still make it work. You just need to have somebody in your organization that's a galvanizer that can round up the troops for you. So, but ideally in our organization, it would be the sales manager that has the galvanizing personality naturally.
Got it. So, is this person you're speaking of, would you consider that a key decision in the earlier days of the brokerage that helped lay the foundation of success that skyrocketed this thing, or was it something different? Or
I don't think it was that because I didn't even at that time in my journey, I wasn't even aware of that and needing that. For me, it was just, getting a coach, helping with he and I laid out a plan of growth, and then slowly building it and not feeling pressure to hit certain numbers at certain times. I didn't take on debt, so I didn't have that kind of a pressure. So a lot of it was very organic, and system oriented in terms of the growth. I think that, and it helped me that I'm living my business is in the town that I grew up in, so we already had a name, like the family had a name for itself and a good reputation. I think that helps immensely when you're with starting from the ground up, having no real estate experience prior to that. So I think those are the kinds of things that help me more than having a galvanizer in my organization.
love it, love it. Well, you're a best-selling author. You have a book called Breaking Boxes, Dismantling the Metaphorical Boxes That Bind Us.
Hmm.
You're also a speaker. When you step on stage or you open your book, what's the message you want people to walk away from? If there was one thing when they hear you for the first time.
That's interesting. It's hard to say because I get asked to speak about different topics. So some of the speaking is geared towards the book, which is getting out of these metaphorical boxes that people, societies, institutions, organizations, peers, friends, and family put us in. And then the other kind of big topic I speak about is leadership. So kind of two different messages would be warranted there. But if it was on the book side and dismantling the metaphorical boxes, I think the message would be that kind of like when you how you open this podcast, is that all there is? And there's so much more. And for me, it's the idea that inspiring people to take a look at their life, see what kind of boxes they may be in that they don't even realize that they're in. And maybe these boxes aren't serving them. And giving them hope that there is a way to gracefully exit those that no longer serve.
So someone told me once that when you feel like you're dealing with, you're using the term boxes. I heard someone say limitations,
Okay.
self-limiting beliefs, and there's all the different terms, right? But I heard someone, and literally this was like this morning, I was hearing someone share on this. I'm like, wow, the timing. But it was this idea of make it natural to question everything. What are your thoughts on that?
I write that in my book. I say question everything. Everything you do, ask yourself, why are you doing this? Is this consistent with who I am, what my values are? And every yes, anytime you say yes, then consciously ask yourself, what am I saying no to? It might not be obvious, but there's always something you're saying no to for every yes you make. So just living a much more intentional life has helped me. And yes, absolutely, just questioning, why are you doing what you're doing? Whose values are they serving? And maybe they are serving yours, but maybe they're not. I think a lot of us, myself included, often go through life on somewhat of a autopilot.
Okay, so you triggered a nerve. I do real estate as well. I'm on the investment side. Very common issue. And you just touch on when you say yes to something, what are you saying no to? In the world of real estate, and you know this, I know this, everyone's always asking you for something constantly. Please say yes. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be a lender, an attorney, a broker, it doesn't matter, right? It's everywhere. And when you say no, not everyone tends to like that answer. I really like what you said is if I say no, or if I say yes, what am I saying no to? And I think about as an investor, some of the times I've said yes, I was actually saying no to furthering my goals as an investor.
Right.
And then the next thing you know, you're 10 levels farther behind than you ever
Yep.
thought.
Yep.
But you made that person that doesn't really care at the end of the day happy. They just got their little checkbox checked.
Right. Right.
How do we break that conditioning? That's a big
Yeah.
one for us real estate folks.
Right. I mean, and that's what just getting very intentional and asking yourself, questioning your every move you make. Why are you saying yes and what are you saying no to? I think if we consciously realize we're saying no to ourselves, that's gonna that's gonna allow us to pause and make sure that that's a trade-off that you're willing to make.
Actually, I'm writing that down. Why am I saying yes?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
'Cause we're always thinking about the word no, but I
Right.
love that phrasing. Why am I saying yes?
Mm-hmm.
Stop saying no to yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be my Facebook post today. No. That's good. That's good. That's good. Let's keep going. Speaking of real estate, one of the things I saw I thought was very interesting was you had created some salaried roles in an industry that's very commission based.
Yeah.
What were some of the steps that led you to do that? Because it's
So
not common.
yeah. Well, and that's like getting out of the box, right? We think of a sales agent, a real estate agent always being on commission. And what we were seeing is we would have a lot of people come to us that wanted to be in real estate. And we felt that they had the attributes that would make them successful, but they could not bridge the gap financially from going to whatever employment they currently had that was quasi steady to going into real estate, which is very unpredictable, especially for the first couple of years. And they needed that stability of a paycheck. And after after saying no to so many people that we really felt just needed a little bit of it's like a bridge. And the other thing I recognize, like I remember when I was in another profession, I was in the real estate profession or the pharmaceutical industry, and I was doing marketing research. And I remembered being very frustrated when I realized, because I would do market research, which involved interviewing healthcare professionals, caregivers, and patients about these products that the company that I worked for were marketing. And I remember the only way to advance was to go into management of people. And I thought, well, that's interesting because I loved doing the research, but I couldn't advance in the company unless I wanted to stop doing the research and manage the people who did the research. And that's so short-sighted because you might be missing some great people because you don't have the right fit. And I felt the same way with in real estate. I'm watching great people walk out the door feeling like they can't do real estate unless they could stomach not having an income or an unpredictable income for the first year. And I said, well, what's the solution? The solution is to salary them, right? And then you've got great people. You salary them, you've got to keep them accountable, which you can if you salary them to certain behaviors and practices and outcomes, but you're giving them a chance to see if this is a career that would work for them. So it's been a beautiful alternative for people who just can't stomach or really financially cannot make the jump unless they have some help.
Gotcha. Would you say, and how have the results come from that?
Great. It's a win-win. I mean, in fact, what we have found is some agents will stay on as salaried, even though financially they know they would make more if they rolled off salary and went commission because they value certainty, right? And that's great. I mean, that's why I wanted to create a product. We call it a product, but a product that would serve that niche of our population that wants certainty but wants to be a real estate agent. So you can have both.
So you have agents that are commission only as well as salaried, it sounds like.
Yeah.
And people get to choose.
Yes.
So if you want to be, you want a greater upside, you're going to be commission,
Right.
but you may end up with less. It's up to you and
Right.
the market and all of that.
Right. It's risk and
Or,
reward, right?
or we can pay you X and it'll be steady.
Right.
And I guess maybe they get a raise or whatever, right? But they can't take that huge upside, but at least they got a job. They just
Right.
have to hit the
Yep.
deliverables like any salaried employee.
Right. They're not worried if the market takes a turn. They know they're getting a steady paycheck.
Right. And the market's a little soft right now in places. So I
It is.
imagine those people are very happy right now, I would
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Wow. So so this brings up a great point. If you've got people on salary, the market's a little bit softer. I know in Florida we do business and it's softer in places than it was.
Hmm.
How do you empower people? And I guess as the leader, you're that visionary looking down, you see what's coming to proactively deal with this softer market
Hmm.
so that you're still getting a return on those salaried employees.
Yeah.
How do you handle that?
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I've never been one in 20 years to focus on the market because in the market as a whole, because the amount of business any one agent or company in our town makes is is very small looking at the total market. So we don't need to be impacted. Our sales, we can have appreciating sales in a declining market. Anybody can if they work hard. So to me, it's just an opportunity. And in times like this, I like to tell agents most real estate is transacted because of a life event, a death, a mortgage, a divorce, a degree, the D's, the diamonds, the marriage. Those life events are still happening regardless of what the interest rates are, right? What the tariffs are, what inflation's doing. Those life events are still happening. So there's a segment of the population that still needs to buy and sell houses. So in times like this, we focus more on those people that have these life events that are going to be occurring anyway versus just the looky-loos who, oh, I think I might want to buy a new house, or upgrade, whatever, for a variety of reasons. But when you're focusing on things that occur regardless of what's happening in the external world, I think it helps you balance what is what is happening in the market in general.
Life, I just wrote it down. Life event marketing. I love
Hmm.
it. So
Yeah.
life keeps happening. I love it.
Hmm.
So you have founded multiple companies in this real estate sector.
Hmm.
What what would you say you feel defines your entrepreneurial strength now, having been the owner of all these different companies after all these years?
I think for my strength, I think is seeing gaps and thinking of a solution. Like the salaried agent position, right? There was a gap, an unmet need, and we were able to create a service or a product, a job that fills that need. And so that's what I feel like that's what I constantly look at is where is there a gap? We're about to launch a home maintenance program where we're doing property management for homeowners that live in their house. Most people think of property management is non-owner owner occupied, right? Remote owners that are renting out their homes. But there is a segment of the population, whether they're dual income, very busy with lots of kids, and the last thing they want to do is maintain their home, or you've got the elderly cohort where the adult children are worried because mom and dad live 500 miles away. They want to stay in their homes, but they can't maintain their homes, but they really want to stay in their homes. And they want peace of mind that the home is being and yard is being maintained. So there's a gap, right? And so we create this home maintenance program. We already have a property management company that's doing this for absentee owners. Why don't we offer the same services to owners, right? So it's just I think that's where my strength is recognizing gaps and figuring out a solution to those gaps.
I love it. And that's business right there in a nutshell.
Right.
Find the issue and fix it. I love it.
Exactly. Yeah. How can you add value, right?
I love it. Well, let's step back in time because we didn't get to where we are overnight. And I saw that you were a researcher for several years
Hmm.
and you decided to be a company owner. It looked like a company called Research RX. Was
Hmm.
that your plunge into entrepreneurship? When
No, I've been an entrepreneur since I was little. I've been
okay, okay.
doing, I had a cake decorating business in college.
Oh,
I had a sand art company when I was in business school. I had a flyer distribution company. I used to sell purses and belts that I made. I used to sell art at art shows. I mean, I've done so
wow,
many different things. Yeah.
wow. So then what made you decide? I guess then maybe we should reverse the question. What made you decide to be a researcher?
So, okay, so what happened was, so I was in pharma doing marketing research for the pharmaceutical companies that I worked for. And then when I was 31, I found myself, I was in the Northeast in Philadelphia, and I was 31 with two kids and found myself suddenly single. And the company that I was working for had a corporate restructuring and they laid off the entire commercial division because our product did not get FDA approval. And so I ended up moving back to Florida where I was raised, and I didn't know what I was going to do because there's no big pharma companies in Florida. And so I just did a consulting. I created a company, Research RX, and I did consulting work for the pharmaceutical companies that I used to work for. And I did that for, I think, probably about 4 years while I was building up a nest egg to pivot into real estate.
Wow. So you were working for the companies. It doesn't work out for whatever reason. So then you go back to what you were doing before, being an entrepreneur
Hmm.
to solve the problem.
Yeah.
Basically
Yeah.
start working for all your old clients. So hey,
Right.
they're still paying you. Oh, that
Right. They're still
works.
paying me, and I get to work in my hometown, which I'd always said I wanted to work in, but I couldn't because there was no big pharma here. So it was a in retrospect, it was a blessing.
Yes, yes. No, I love it. I love it. So then what was it that, and you were just talking about the nest egg and going into real estate, what was the draw to real estate at that time?
Well, I don't know why, but I've always been attracted to new construction, like always looking at communities, driving through them, running through them. I'm a big runner. I love the whole house building process. My parents have always had real estate, like growing up, they always had properties that they had they had vacation properties and they also had investment properties and they had land and they always advocated having multiple sources of income. And then when I was in graduate school, oddly, I was able to take a class where we gutted row homes in West Philadelphia and rebuilt them and then sold them to cost-burdened families. And I could see the impact that a house made on the family. I mean, it impacts health outcomes, it impacts educational, highest level of education obtained. It really is the foundation for the flourishment of a family. And so when when I started to consult, I thought, you know what, this is the ideal opportunity to try real estate. I'm in my hometown. We've been we've been here since 1974, so we had a bit of a name to our family. And so it would be a great place if I was going to try it to make a go out of it. And so that's kind of what led me there.
I love that perspective about the home kind of being really like a home base
Mhm.
for a family more than just a place of shelter.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And so so you've been around real estate long before you were in real estate.
Right, right. Yes.
So you've gotten to see all these different angles of it
hmm
between vacation rentals, the investments, the realtor side. As you surveyed all these things, was there any one view of real estate that stuck out as, I mean, obviously you got into the realtor side, but was ever a side of it that you looked at and said, you know what, I really like this, but I don't like this aspect of it?
Hmm. No, I mean, I was surprised at how much I really liked it all. Um, when I moved from being a realtor to a broker, I did, you slowly have to give up pieces of your business the day to day. And so I did give up buyers first, not because I didn't like working with buyers, but it was just a lot more labor intensive. And it pulled me out of the office. And so it was just natural to give that piece of the business up first and give it to my team. And then, so you kind of have to give up pieces as you grow. But I would say, no, there's nothing there's no aspects that I dislike. I don't like the paperwork involved. I like the
There you
connection,
go.
but it'd be great if you and then we've been actually building that up in our own company where the agents the goal is the agents stay out in the field, and once something looks like it's going to go under contract, it gets totally done in-house and the agents stay in the field.
Yeah.
And that's because I don't like paperwork. I don't think my agents appreciate it either. So,
And you don't meet a lot of people that wake up saying, I love paperwork. I mean, there's a
yeah.
few, they're a little weird, but that's all right. Someone's got to do it, right?
Yeah.
So you built a brokerage up, obviously a ton of success over the years with the endorsements and all. But the world is still evolving, right? Last year there was the NAR ruling, which people
hmm
was thought it was going to be a huge tidal wave, but it's really been more like a trickle of change. There has been some change, but nothing too drastic.
Yeah.
Now we're seeing AI coming
hmm
in field
hmm
a lot more. Right now, everyone's an AI expert. I'm like, how's everyone an AI expert? Chat GPT is what, 2 years old, maybe?
Yeah.
Like, how can you be an expert? But regardless, where do you see AI in your line of work, primarily the realtor side,
hmm Well,
especially with well, and especially with so much information available to homeowners today, publicly.
yeah. Well, I think for us in the brokerage, I mean, about a year ago, we hired a fractional AI specialist, and they're constantly working on projects for us, automating really a lot of that paperwork that was labor intensive is being automated. We also have another company that's using AI for recruiting and setting appointments. those are the most immediate things. A lot of people are using AI for the actual home decor and, the virtual staging and all of that. We're using AI for our marketing department. In fact, we are actually moving towards a virtual marketing department because in some part because of AI and not needing as many people and don't need them in-house anymore. So creating all the marketing materials as a start using the AI, using AI as a template. We used AI just recently for building a whole course out for my book, using building a master class using voice recognition. And so they just, compilated a lot of my talks and my podcasts and created a hour master class that I didn't have to record. It was just recorded through my AI voice. So, and that's just all the stuff in the last probably 6 to 8 months. So I think it's going to
Wow.
definitely, it's going to change all our industries. But yeah.
So how does a real estate professional, with all the change come with, and we all know it's going to continue to
Hmm.
change and evolve,
Hmm.
how do real estate professionals stay in a position to keep offering value? Because like, and it's not unique to real estate, right? You're hearing about all these jobs are going to be eliminated and this and that, and we'll see what happens. But the reality is there are some things that aren't going to be needed. I was rehabbing a house recently, and I'm talking to my business partner. She's down in Florida, and we're like, hey, what do we do with this space? Hey, let's ask Chat GPT. You upload a picture and it gives you like 20 ideas. And my first thought was, what do we need home designers for? Well, the reality is we still need designers.
Yeah.
But I could totally see why some of them are like, oh, shoot, I'm going to be out of a job soon, right?
Yeah.
How do real estate people, what can they do to stay relevant and be value adding moving forward?
Well, I think staying on top of AI, it's going to be the people who know how to use AI that are going to be relevant. Um, I think it's like the computer. People, it's, years ago, if they weren't willing to learn how to use a computer or learn how to use a cell phone, you're not going to make it in real estate. So you're going to have to really understand AI and show how it can be of value to the average person. I think, I do think, and I could be naive, but I do think real estate's a bit protected because it generally is someone's largest asset. And I think there's a wariness of relying on AI for your biggest purchase, especially with they've shown the fraud has gone exponential in just the 2 years of AI and how
Wow.
quickly it is. Yeah, I mean, we're getting AI bots. We had they showed us a video, a remote closing, which and the person sent an AI generated person to the closing and
Wow.
tried to have them close on a house. And so I do think there's the fear of of them of people being taken advantage of and it being a fraud and losing money because the asset's so big relative to their portfolio. I think it keeps us relevant, the human connections more relevant in our industry than in a lot of other industries. But I think that and also just staying current and being of value. Most people, it's to me it's easy to stay a couple steps ahead of what the general population knows about AI. And so I think you need to stay a couple steps ahead, showing your customers how you use AI to help them.
You mentioned the AI bots. So kind of piggybacking on what you said, and that's wild on the an AI avatar go to closing. Wow, kind of crazy.
Hmm.
Things we can do with technology, right? So one of the things, and I used to hear them called offer bots, and this is in the investment space, right? And then now you hear the AI is like, and I even saw a software product, we're not going to name names. It's like, hey, you can make 1,000 offers to agents per day. And I'm like, what a nightmare. I would hate that. But
Hmm.
just what if 5% of them respond? All of a sudden you have an extremely busy day.
Yeah.
But this idea of using AI to analyze the deal, send an offer. You've never seen the product. There's no human relationship. It's just all tech
Hmm.
doing this. Do you see a point where that becomes normal, or is real estate going to, at the end of the day, stay, you know what? Tech is nice, but we got to still talk to each other.
Again, I think because the value of the purchase, the importance of the purchase, the fact that about half of moves, people are moving into a town that they don't know. I just feel that people want that human connection.
What about for the investors, though? Because, you
Oh,
know, the
investors,
investors,
yeah. No, that's
they're,
different.
they're
And
always
that's
being
not,
sold on
no,
easy.
totally. That can be AI. I mean, that's exactly. I mean, you don't need to look at it's all numbers. They don't even need to see the place as long
But
as the
if
numbers work.
but if you're the realtor getting all these offers from bots,
Hmm.
like what's that strategy going forward? You're like, I know, all right, I just got 20 offers on this investment property. Probably 19 of them don't even know their bot has made
I
this
know.
offer. Like, how do
I
you
know
handle?
that puts us in a predicament because, we are supposed to present all offers to sellers,
Right, right,
and
well,
we get
exactly.
frustrated by that. We have, you can see it's a bot because they've made an offer on every single one of our listings. And we have to then go to every seller and tell them, and it's usually, for half the value. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's going to be interesting. I mean, I'm sure certainly we'll have to have some changes in how we operate and what our responsibilities are.
So the counter AI to the AI,
Right, exactly.
AI wars. So,
Right. Yeah.
yeah, that's interesting because, and I mean, we have agents on our team, so we right, like it's like, okay, this
Yeah.
is there's got to be a balance in here that makes sense. So,
Yeah. I wish it was, like I've heard, I have a great friend who's in the insurance industry, and she tells me that they are regulated so heavily. Was it insurance or financial? No, financial planning. And anything that they anything that they put out to the public that was AI was used at all, they have to put it on there that AI was used. Like that would be nice if an offer came in and it has to say this is
mm,
AI generated. We don't have that in our industry, but it would be nice if we did.
gotcha. Just a simple disclosure.
Right.
Gotcha. No, that makes sense. I mean, it's a good idea. Maybe you can invent that. So, I want to ask, shifting gears a little bit, when you wrote your book, what would you say was the hardest story or lesson to share and the vulnerability that came with it? But it was a critical that it be conveyed.
Oh goodness. I mean, the whole book for me was very vulnerable. I think because it's not, it's a lot of stuff people had no idea about my life. Um, I think for me, and nothing to do with business, but for me, the part that was probably the most, it was all very hard. But the most vulnerable was my relationships with my ex-husband and my relationships in general with my boyfriends or my ex-husband, and some of the decisions that I made at the time. I think that was hard.
What's the message moving forward that we can learn from that?
Um, oh, so many. One, giving ourselves grace. We do the best we can with the knowledge we have at the time that we're in. And so it's benefits no one to beat yourself up over, oh, what you should have done, what you should have said, all of that. But I also think the message is for me, and not in a, not being negative, but just I have a tendency to hope a lot. And hope, my coach says, hope is not a strategy, Betsy.
Fair.
And I think that's true. And that's a hard one for me because that's just my natural MO is hope. Hope that it gets better, hope that I change, hope that someone else is change, hope that somebody else changes, hope that the relationship changes. But often it doesn't. And so I just, you know, just know that hope is not a strategy. Yeah.
I think we've all been there. I had a coach tell me once the hardest part about being a real estate investor was being a nice guy.
Mm.
And then I had another coach tell me the exact same thing several years later. He told me flat, it's like your biggest problem is real simple. You're just too nice.
Mm.
And it's true. It's
Mm.
true. So I think the kindness of our hearts, the generosity, the desire to serve,
Yeah.
it does make that challenging
Yeah.
because we really do want the best for others, but
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
we all the hope in the world won't change them.
Right.
Well, what
Exactly.
it can do is change ourselves, which so it's a great segue to my next question. As entrepreneurs that feel stuck in between the boxes, in the boxes, probably both.
Mm-hmm.
How does entrepreneur, especially in today's world where you almost feel like if I don't keep up with everything 24/7, 365, oh my gosh, I'm going to be behind this, that, the other, right? There's always this push that you got to keep up, keep up, keep up, move, move, move. That sometimes the biggest box is, am I even capable of keeping up?
Mm-hmm.
What's an actionable practice you tell entrepreneurs today, or even just people on your team on just to start breaking free of these boxes?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Um, well, I think the first thing is to understand what boxes are holding you back the most, and then work on those that are impacting your life most negatively. And and for me, it's a journey inward and getting in touch with how certain things are making me feel. Your body will tell you before your mind if something's not working or not, as long as you're willing to listen to your body, which that's been a long journey for me. And then taking heed to what your body is telling you and moving towards that which feels good and away from that which does not feel good to your body. So that's where I would start. I would caution people who feel like they're on this treadmill and have to keep up and have can't feel overwhelmed and just pausing and I'm always a big believer on, working from the lowest hanging fruit and what will make the biggest move and impact and just focus on that instead of being overwhelmed by the multitude of things that you feel like you have to do. There's a great book by Dr. Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan called Who Not How, which was which is really was life changing for me in terms of how I perceived what I needed to do versus what others could do for me. And the idea that we kind of going back to how we started this, where we work in our unique ability and really understand what that is, what makes you sing and what makes your life flow, and then hiring out or aligning yourselves with a collaboration to get the help of things that drain you and your energy.
Drain you of your energy. Oh man, we know a little bit about that.
Yeah.
It's growth can be messy. Growth can be messy, and I know that's something you've spoken on. And this, it can be incredibly uncomfortable. And we here as entrepreneurs embrace discomfort. I've thought to myself many times, I don't know about embracing discomfort as much as just make discomfort standard operating procedure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then if you have a moment when you're comfortable, great, celebrate, party time, right? And then
So
go right back
it's
to,
funny you say that because I have a daily tracker, and one of the things I track is did I make myself uncomfortable today? And
wow.
my goal is to make myself uncomfortable at least once a day. Um, for a couple of reasons. One is I believe that it's helping me build resilience because we don't control things. We think we like to control things. We think we have this perception that we do, but we don't. And so it will help with the resilience that we need for when things don't go as planned. So once a day, I try to do that. Um, the the other thing I think it does is it just um, for me when I ask myself, when do I feel most alive? It is not doing things that make me feel comfortable. It's doing things outside my comfort zone that I feel most alive, that I'm growing, that I'm learning. It may be pleasant, it may be unpleasant, but I feel most alive when I'm not in my comfort zone.
That's good. Most alive equals stay uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so true. I was at an event recently where it was very alive and it was a little crazy and I mean, it tracked exactly of what you said. I'm like, no, that's, yeah, I was just there
Mm-hmm.
recently.
Mm-hmm.
So can you share an example of a very uncomfortable moment that you maybe tracked
Mm-hmm.
in your daily, but by recognizing it, it led you to like leaps and bounds of progress?
Um, I've recognized some themes in my level of what I'm doing in terms of what I'm doing to make myself uncomfortable. It could just be giving a presentation in a big group, right? But and that's great because now that's become very comfortable for me. You know, you'll find like it's resilience, it's a muscle. I think the biggest ones for me are when I am delaying having a difficult conversation with somebody. And if I make myself have the authentic conversation that's very uncomfortable in the moment, the relationship grows stronger, whether it's in business or personal life. But I think if we could all be more authentic in the present, I think we're so scared to tell people how we truly feel. But if we recognize that that actually brings us closer, not farther away, we would do it more. So I think that's the biggest times are those one-on-one conversations I have that are very uncomfortable, but bring the greatest growth in the relationship.
Can we choose, and this, I'm glad you brought this up, because I heard someone say something recently, and it really got my mind thinking. And I don't know that I agree or disagree, but it was one of those, that's a really good point. She said, um, there are no uncomfortable conversations. It's our perception of it that makes it uncomfortable. Do you
Mhm.
agree with that? Because it's a very interesting thought. Because I would tend to think, no, I don't know that I agree with that. But then as I've marinated on it, I'm like, well, maybe it's true. Maybe it's
Mhm.
sometimes. I don't know. I'm still
Mhm.
feeling that one out. What do you think?
I totally agree with that. And I think what and I put myself here, what people fail to recognize, and I put myself in there as well, is when someone has the courage to have an uncomfortable situation with me or I them, that means the person that has the courage, they're invested in this relationship. If they weren't invested, the opposite of of love is indifference. And so if they weren't invested in me to have this conversation, that would be hurtful. But they're choosing to have this uncomfortable conversation because they're invested in the relationship. And so if you look at it from that perspective, even though they may be something, maybe they're telling you something that's hard to hear, they're doing it out of love. not indifference. And what more would we want, right? So I think if we look at it as, and maybe their delivery could be different, but at the end of the day, there's something that you're going to learn from that
Right.
conversation.
The power of the spoken word is powerful,
Hmm.
especially, especially when someone's trying to have an intense conversation over text or email. You're like, just stop.
Yes, I know. I tell my agents that all the time. I'm like, pick up the phone.
Yes.
Yes.
Because it's really, I love the way you say it. It's an expression of genuine concern. Whether we
Hmm.
agree or disagree is almost becomes secondary.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. I love it. One more question. You started a nonprofit, Pepine Gives,
Hmm.
supporting at-risk families, um, you know, showing strategic heart, maybe is a way to put it. But it's clearly something very important to you, especially, people of all sorts, young people in particular, I noticed. What was it, the impetus to start that, and what's its overall mission?
So the mission is to address the affordable housing crisis in our county. I live in the highest cost burden county in the state of Florida, and median incomes cannot keep up with the median housing prices. The experience that I had at business school, where I got to be involved in that process, really did change how I viewed home ownership. And then when I started the brokerage, we've always had this value of impact, but we were all over the place. We were doing pet rescue, we were doing homelessness, we were doing, retirement homes for horses, and we were just everywhere. And several years ago, we said, you know what, we want to funnel all of our efforts to make a greater impact in one niche. And we wanted it to be in the area that we served. And so we wanted to serve a population of people that need real estate services, but will never be able to use our services the traditional way. And so we partnered with Habitat for Humanity, and we now fundraise, have events, sponsor homes, and then help build those homes alongside the future homeowner and their families, and then dedicate the homes to them. So it's been wonderful. I mean, just to see again how a house can change a family.
Wow, that's super awesome. I love it. Okay, that inspired one more question. It didn't. All right, for real. One more, and that is the affordable housing crisis. I mean, that you were talked about boxes. That is a very real box. It's a very real challenge. I'm in Atlanta. I almost laugh when people say affordable housing. I'm like, affordable housing? Are you kidding? Does that exist? Right?
I know.
So, but it reminded me of this simple idea of, as entrepreneurs, we all have boxes we got to break out of. Looking back over your career, if you're speaking to a room of entrepreneurs, what's the first box that every one of them's got to break?
Well, so I had a couple thoughts there initially. One is a lot of people who come to us, and we have a real estate school, so we do see a lot of people brand new in the career. Um, the first box they have to break is they're feeling that they're not going to make it. Most agents, when they start, I think have I mean, just an incredible fear that it's so, I mean, it's not easy to make it, but it's not, if you really want it and you have a plan, you're going to make it. So I think they, I think sometimes they have a unnaturally large fear of not making it. So overcoming that box. And then I think on the other flip side, in terms of how they relate to their customers, I do think at the onset there is a tendency to perhaps put their customers in boxes. And so, based on socioeconomics, educational level, whatever. And I think that's very misguided. We train our agents absolutely. We know we treat everybody fairly. And we're actually not transactional. We're relationship based. We don't care if you buy or sell a house from us. We want to establish trust so that when you or your family or your sphere needs a house, you think of us.
Love it. Love it. Well, Betsy, this was very insightful. I appreciate you taking the time. Just some great insights. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Frank. It was my pleasure.
Absolutely. And to our listeners, if you want to connect with Betsy, want to do business with Betsy, the links will be below to connect with her. She's got some free stuff out on her website. There'll be a link to that. I encourage you to pick up the book. I certainly plan to pick up a copy as well, as I got some boxes, I think we all do, that we can handle a little bit better. So, Betsy, I want to thank you again for coming on the show. It's been wonderful. Can you leave us with a final word?
I love the mantra. Everything happens for me, not to me. Yeah.
There's a lot of truth in that. Maybe not in the moment. It may not feel like it. But give it a minute to breathe, and yeah, it's true. It's true. Well, thank you again, Betsy. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Frank. Bye bye.